Ecclesiastes 3:15. It says, "What that which have been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and the Most High requireth that which is past." Um, Shalom, all praise to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Harakal Kadesh, double the apostles and elders, great millstone that rule world. Shalom to all the brothers doing the work necessary in truth. Yeah, I just pulled the scripture out because, like, the time we're in now is again, a time that's been already before. The kingdom we're in now is, the beast who basically had the deadly wound healed and has come back again. And just as it went down before, it's gonna go down in this current time as well. Because you go back. So I was gonna go into the Greek. I was gonna go into First Maccabees. Basically just to touch on, the relationship Jake has with these kingdoms, with these different empires. Because with Jake, it's same thing time and again. They'll basically be, in their land. Well, they'll in their land. They'll be observing the scriptures, keeping to the laws. Well, there have to be someone over them. In the time of judges, when there's a righteous judge ruling, then what? They'll be able to keep Jake on track, because that judge would have been raised up when Jake was getting jacked up by the heathen round about him, because they'll basically join in the ways of the heathen, and then, lo and behold, it didn't work out in their favor. So let's go into the Greek. So it says First Maccabees 1:11. It says, "In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow." Yeah. So you got these Israelites that back then, and it's the same thing now. Same thing as in the time of Yahushua, same thing now. That same wicked generation came back time and again. Because as it said, that which have been that which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been. Because why? Because those men around back then, and as them same men come back, and that's why you had that wicked and adulterous generation, and that's why you had those men in them same wicked, wicked offices, man. Like, you have the Sauls come back, the sons of Belial, all these various wicked as fuck Jakes. They'll come back, and they'll come back in the same office. They're basically the role to play of receiving their judgment. But that comes now. That's for the present time. Now is the time where they're gonna get caught in a mix. Because why? Comes down to that charagma. Them basically having receiving that, and then getting the ultimate judgment in this current time. But then it's the same with the elect. The elect is gonna come back. Those same that didn't bow the knee, just as I mentioned, the time of Kings, where Elijah was told there's 7,000 that haven't bowed the knee to Baal. Because why? Yeah, you always had that number reserved, those that knew Yahushua from before. So it says, "What? So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen." And yeah, that's the same thing now. Because now you go to your average Jake, what they doing? They're doing after the ordinance of the heathen. One of the biggest ones is again Jeremiah 10:2. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and then with hammers that move not. So Christmas is a big one. Now in a time where it's Easter, and they'll go to the scriptures and they say like, oh, you know, it says in the scriptures Easter. Because we'll say Acts 12:4, and when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to four quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. I believe you go into it. And it's talking about, Pesach. Going into the Pesach, which is offered for the people's deliverance from Egypt. So basically the Pesach. But then it's written as, you can even see there, it's written as Passover 28 times. But then this one time they just slung in Easter. Because why? Confusion. But then that's because why? Because that Easter, that goes back to what Ishtar, which is a completely different observation, man. That's a heathen practice. Good example I always cite for that is American Gods, a TV show. In the first season, at the end, you have Easter being celebrated. Then they'll have, I think they had Ishtar there. They had a white woman playing her, and then it was meant to be an Easter celebration, and then they had all the various Jesus Christ, the different idols for, so-called Jesus Christ, the white Jesuses and whatnot. Basically there, and they were getting all the shine because they're saying like, oh, now what used to be to reverence Ishtar is now to reverence, that so-called Jesus Christ, which is what they do. That white image of Jesus Christ is what gets upheld. That's what is reverenced on that day, because now, that's what's been set up. And that's how it is with the, these practices, these heathen practices. Jake's taking them on. What is it? Jeremiah 2:33, it says, why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked one thy ways. Yeah. So Jake's out here trimming her ways to find that love. They're basically looking for the what do you call it? They're looking for the heathen to basically get, give them acceptance, which is what a lot of these, these modern movements about, what they be about, the, so-called blacks, black BLM and these things are all about, basically Jake being able to get, some degree of love, of being able to be, grafted in to this current society. They want to be part of it. They want to be in it. They want to be accepted because they love this place, man. But it ain't gonna run, because as far as for what this place is a prison colony. It's basically for Israel. Should have taken it. Which one was it? sure it was residue. Is it in? Nah, apparently not. Nah, what was it? Now shall you be what as a no, what is it? Not no favor. If there's a residue among the heathen. Oh, when it is no. Let's see, wherein is. Yeah, vessel wherein there's no pleasure. That's the one. So Hosea 8 and 8, it says, Israel swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. I think I was mixing up two scriptures. But, well, combining the two. Because, yeah, that's basically the state Israel's in. They're basically, among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure, man. They're basically suffered. You watch, it's funny as well, because you see like the Jake that are just completely destroyed, man. Them super hood, ratchet, ghetto ass Jakes, like their mindset's been completely destroyed, man. They ain't even able to function. What's that? Hosea 4 and 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy power. I will also forget thy children. Yeah. So even for Jake, that's, they're destroyed for lack of knowledge. They've basically got no capability to function. Funny as hell. They've got no capability to function. Because why? Jesus. Because they've been destroyed, man. And the main means but what was used was what, that transatlantic slave trade, where Jake was put into a hardcore bondage. They'll mash up, they'll destroyed, they'll completely decimated. Then after that, they came out of it, but then it was continued, destruction upon them. Even after, they were so-called free, there was sharecropping, there was redlining, there was other things that were done. There was, various tests like the Tuskegee and whatnot. These, and, up until now, Jake is still a residue. They're still not. That's why you ain't even called Americans, man. You guys are still called African Americans. But hey, you're never gonna get that dream, of what you're looking for from the heathen, man. So First Maccabees 1 and 14 says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen. Yeah, that place of exercise. So it's the same thing as back then. Like now, Jake is doing the same things. They're basically following after. They're molding after. That's always been what's gone down. Jake has basically just gotten into and followed after how the heathen conduct themselves. They're basically, trying to follow in that mold. But we've got the laws, man. We're bound by the laws. We've got the promises. So if we conduct ourselves a certain way, if we conduct ourselves following the scriptures, then we receive reward. But then when we go against it, then you get the punishment. And that's why things that will work in the favor for the heathen ain't gonna work for Jake. And that's what there's a struggle to understand. Actually, you know what? What is it? Judah 5. Okay, so Judas 5 and 16 says, and they cast forth before them the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite, the Shechemite, and all the Girgazites, and they dwelt in the country many days. And whilst they sinned not before their power, they prospered, because the power that hateth iniquity was with them. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs, and the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by enemies. Yeah, so when Syria and Babylon as well put the smack down on Jerusalem, put the smack down on Israel and took them into hardcore bondage, man. These things went down, and the heathen around about, these guys are all neighbors to the Israelites. So they'll know how they conduct themselves, and they'll know as well that when they're following the laws, it's a wrap. It's over. It's a done dilly. There's no hope. You basically you're toast. It's open season on you, man. That hedge, that protection's gone. But then when you're following it, then these guys are invincible. You can't even come against them, man. You're gonna fail utterly. It's gonna end up like Balak, trying to get Balaam to curse him, and then it always getting flipped back on him. Oh wait, no, it was, yeah. So, First Maccabees 1. Customs to the heathen. Okay, yeah, 15. And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of the two realms. Okay, so I'll skip a bit further down. I think there was... Oh, he was pulled off. Was there a bit more? I think that was... I'll read it still. And I made themselves uncircumcised, forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of two realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him, and fled, and many were wounded to death. First they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took spoils, and took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the shewbread. So all that joining on to the heathen, what did it result in? That decimation. Because as far as that's the thing with Jake, and as well with Jacob and Esau, that's been the nature of the relationship from when they were in the womb together. That enmity, that contention. There's not been ease, there's not been peace. Basically, it's hard coded that ease is not gonna be there. That's why it's like now the serpent has basically been loosed for a season. So that's Esau's rule. Esau's power system has been established, and yet Jake ain't getting no love out here. If there was a love there, that Jake was seeking back then, and Jake is still seeking now. Jake getting all up in the various industries, getting into sports, getting into entertainment, getting into various forms of sciences, various forms of wisdom within Esau's realm. They're basically showing what value they have. But then, if you're Jake out here, that you're still, shockingly find you're still just a nigger, man. It's not a mystery. You had Wesley Snipes having that legendary run in the 90s. And then what? He got hemmed up, man. He got his head locked and choke slammed into jail. For what? For tax evasion. Which is, these men are meant to be getting niced. They're meant to be at the top. They're meant to be established. So, lo and behold, when that's not happening, that means that, hey, the Esau system's coming against them, man. They're meant to be part of that. These things are meant to be getting worked out. They're meant to be niced. But lo and behold, he took 22, and the table, the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very loudly. So all that so-called peace, all that basically, clinging on to worshipping his gods, following his ordinances, where's it led you? Because that's what Jake are doing now. Again, they're basically living, trying to be like Edomites within their system. But it's the same thing, it's not working out. You talk to a lot of these Jakes, especially in the business field, because business field is one of those where, because money is money is king, they don't give a fuck. And especially because that's Esau's, that's like one of his most, he's one of the most established fields. The Jake that are going up in there, they're basically trying to, reverence the system to such a high degree. They know these guys are gonna do the utmost just to try and stay there, man. Just to try and make some money, just so they can try and access a certain kind of lifestyle. Which is why, they'll be calling them niggas. They'll do all. There was the story about the Jake bird that was saying, oh, she was called a black bitch as a joke. And these things these guys I talked to, I remember there was brother multiple members of camp used to see back in the day. This guy was all down in the spirit, because why? Because he was when he was what do you call it? All down in the spirits, because when he was at work, he was just like, yo, these guys are just racist, man. Because and he's working in the banking sector, because that's how them men are. And Jake getting up and they're thinking, oh, you're gonna be respected, for what your capabilities, how much money you make, how much success you have. Lo and behold, they don't run like that. they're basically just like, oh, they're basically just like, what do you call it, man? Like bruh, come on, man. You basically got to suffer this to stay here. And that's why as well you see Jake change up how they act, because that natural Jake, swagger, certain energy you bring to things, those things will just kind of get toned down. Funny as hell, man. Funny as hell. So I remember I was at work. There was one Jake broad, and I could tell she was still, she's obviously from the ends, but she'd been working that kind of corporate environment, so she was trying to behave like it, but then it was like, cause she's grown up, cause she'd grown up in the ends. It was like she was still fucking conducting herself with some of that energy, and it was just like, yeah, she don't really see that, how obvious it is to someone who's kind of grown up in that, so knows what where that comes from. But that's, these are, the same flaws, the same weaknesses, and that's still gonna come to bite them in the ass. Revelation 14:9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So yeah, that's the end of where that road leads. Because that love affair with Esau, shall I get this as well? That love affair with Esau, where does it where does that end? Because what Esau is looking to establish is that total control, that total system, the overarching system where every aspect of how people engage out here is basically all within his control, all within his purview, all within his power. And the elites are the ones that are the top, that are able to then keep everyone, what's the term? Not even like sequestered. Everyone within their structure, man, within their system. Everything watched, everything controlled, because that's what Esau desires to be. He's trying to be like the Most High. That's the main thing he has. He's basically trying to be the Most High. So he's like, okay, through technology, through carnal means, I'm gonna substitute what is done for the spirit, done for the angels, and then just have it access through drones, through cameras, through AI, through implants. These things are how he's looking to establish what Yahweh Hashem Yahushua can do. This is what Isaiah 30:1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Yahweh, that take counsel but not of me, and that cover with a covering but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Yeah, they're trusting in the shadow of that new Egypt. Revelation 11:8, that new Egypt, Babylon the Great. That's what they're trusting. They're trusting in the Pharaoh. They're looking up to whoever it is, whether it be a Trump, whether it be a Joe Biden, and they're thinking like, yo, this guy's gonna basically present for me salvation, basically the capability to live within the system and have it last forever, because that's what these Jakes are invested in. They're not thinking about the kingdom. They're not thinking about the scriptures. When they're thinking of so-called Jesus Christ, they're thinking of some white guy. They ain't thinking of how he's described in the scriptures. But lo and behold. Lo and behold. What am I wanting to get? But it slipped my mind. Well, verse 3 says, therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. And yeah, that's what all this going to result in, confusion. Because even now, when Yahushua makes his return, the way they're amping up the conflict against the chariots as well, basically getting everyone in the mind to like, oh, these guys could be doing recon, these guys, going to have ill intent. If you're Jake, that's a blessing to you. It's only for Esau where it's the curse. Wait, was it? Was it? No, it wasn't. Okay. Zechariah 5:1, it says, then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold a flying roll. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. Yeah. So this is what that curse. And that curse is onto what? Onto Esau, Edom, man. That's who the curse applies to. That's who's getting jacked up. Who's getting decimated by it. Esau, man. And that's why he's doing our utmost to try and come against the chariots, to try and, pump up like, oh, we shot it down, we did this, that. Because why? They know when Yahushua returns with the angels, it's going to be in the chariots, man, in the so-called UFOs, so-called UAPs, the new term. And it's not going to be a competition. Because you go into the scriptures, it's plain. Michael prevails, man. That's going to be that crisis point. But hey, there's going to be Jake who are going to, go to the grave. They're going to be burning, melting in America as a missiles land. Because why? That's where they're going to throw in their lot. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Shalom.